I'll start again. So the second pillar of your practice is evening cleaning. It is your detox and rejuvenation routine. At the end of the day's work, at around sunset time, doing the cleaning helps you eliminate all the emotional complexities and impurities gathered during the day. Cleaning is like taking a dip in serene pool and rejuvenating yourself. It is suggested to do cleaning in the evening because at this time the energy flow is outward. So it becomes easier to expel the heaviness from the system. The key is to have a non-judgmental attitude toward whatever complexities and impurities are being removed. Simply affirm that all complexities and impurities are being cleaned, and the confident in the affirmation you offer. So we did talk about this confident in the affirmation last time, correct? So we said you have to give that supposition that all cleaning has been done. And that is the important point I want to kind of stress on here. So did we finish cleaning last time, the whole cleaning, right? Did I miss that, Shilpaji? I kind of lost track of.
Yes. Yeah, I think we are done with cleaning. We're at the prayer.
Okay. But one thing about cleaning, I'll tell you. Or one thing about impurities, I'll tell you. Or the what we are cleaning is the grossness, emotional memory associated with the consciousness. We accumulated this over a period of time, right? All these impressions. But sometimes, in a spiritual situation, right? Everything is there for good. Suppose if anger, all emotions, all, the good and bad emotions, how we qualify, are good. Imagine there is no anger in me. Trust me, my survival becomes difficult. If there is no anger in me, that certain push even for spiritual growth does not come in me. So every emotion is there for a reason. So it's a full package. So typically in spiritual growth, we think that, if I am growing spiritually, that means I should not be getting any anger at all, or should not get angry at all, which is completely an antithesis of spiritual growth. Everything in balance is what spirituality suggests. Anger in balance. You get angry, but when the situation, you come out of the situation, that you should not carry that burden. Even there is a burden of positive emotions we should not be carrying. There is a burden of negative emotions. As we qualify it, they are not really negative. They are necessary. So everything in balance. That means, what is balance here? That means I regain that serene condition back after the situation is over. I don't carry those burdens. But what's happening is, because we carry those burdens, it forms as an impression. Because it forms as an impression, now we are compulsive to clean it. We feel compulsive to clean it. But for the people who don't even recognize that changes in the system, we don't know the cleaning. I mean, imagine before joining Heartfulness, there was no cleaning process for us. We never noticed that the cleaning is required. But once we start the cleaning, somehow we feel that heaviness if something comes on to us. Now we have become sensitive to that balanced state. Because we have sensitive to the balance state, if we go away from little bit away from the balance state, we would notice. And then we think, okay, now cleaning is required. Otherwise, we would not have thought about those conditions. So it is all about experiencing this balance. And whenever we sway away from the balance, the cleaning process helps us to reset that balance. Right? All right. Prayer. My favorite topic. There is an experience from Sri Parthasarathi Rajagopalacharya Chariji, who is our global guide before Daji. Time that I want to share. After Babuji, Chariji led the Heartfulness movement. He was a prolific teacher, a relentless worker, and a giant among men. I spent many years under tutelage of Chariji. Once while traveling in Europe with him, we were stranded because of a storm and we were put in an airport hotel. Rooms were scarce and I was in the same room with Chariji. Not to disturb him, I remained quietly in my bed in the morning. I noticed him sitting on the corner of his bed with his eyes closed, and he seemed to be melting away into thin air. Suddenly, the atmosphere in the room changed. It was vibrating with a special energy. When he was done, I asked, Master, what were you doing? It was so special. It was unique. I've never seen anything like this with my eyes open. Oh, I was praying, replied Chariji. What did I learn from this experience? Chariji was there but not there. He had totally submitted, dissolved himself in thin air. We should offer prayer like that. So here, the devotion at the highest. Prayer and devotion go together. What is devotion? Have you ever asked this question? We all say, I'm devoted to something, right? So at a national level, this devotion is to the country. At a family level, devotion is to the family. From a religious level, we have each one, according to their own religion, they're devoted to something. We always say. But in all this devotion, it's more of an emotion than a devotion. We want to use that emotional energy content. We want to bring that emotion. And that kind of gives us the feeling that, okay, now we are devoted to something. It's always emotion. And because of that emotion, what we call love, we find it always is a very painful process. Why? Because in devotion, there cannot be any pain. But in emotion, there is always pain. And every relationship, even the relationship with God becomes painful. But once we become devout is pain at another level. Because now there is a separation I feel between the beloved, my beloved, or the God. And that separation, the pain of that separation is unbearable. So I'm always trying to be one with it, to which I am devoted. So here there is no emotion or anything. Now that separation is happening because we feel that level, the difference in that conscious state between that higher and ourselves. So what's happening is we are always trying to submit our entire self to be one with it. Every time we get into this act of prayer. Otherwise, just prayer is mere words. It has no meaning, no effect, nothing. Only when I kind of want to become one with it, and the intensity of that, the total inner need, that intensity creates surrender, total submission to what I am devoted to. So that's why devotion is devoid of all emotions there. It is only the level of consciousness trying to merge with that ultimate. You see what kind of state it creates in a prayer if you do the prayer with that intensity. It is intense because the heart is longing to be one with that. Okay. So that longing, when we utter the prayer, thou art the real goal of human life. Somebody asked me, it's a long time ago, I'm talking about maybe 25 years back. There's a seminar in Detroit. I drove from Minneapolis. And the topic given to me to talk about was prayer. So I explained prayer in very general terms. And someone asked me, how do I know I'm progressing spiritually? I said, the first line in the prayer, thou art the real goal of human life. How much you really feel that that is your goal. If that intensity of that sentence is changing for you every time, know that you are progressing. I said, otherwise, there is no scale for progress in spirituality. Sometimes people say, okay, if I'm going from one first point to the 10th point or, 13th point, I have progressed. But here, the true progress is the intensity with which that first line comes out. Thou art the real goal of human life. You are my goal. How much are you feeling that that state is your goal? Here, you is not like a third person or not the second person. Here, you is that inner self, the inner essence, what we call God. How much I want to be one with that essence. That intensity says the progress. If you totally feel that I have to be one with that goal, then your progress is also total. That's why the prayer is a state of being, as we read it here. Prayer is a state of being, a song that hums in the humble heart. The words of any prayer are but a bridge to lead you into a state of interiorization. In this state, one is carried on the wave of love into the depths of the heart, into a union with the higher self. So prayer is a longing to be in oneness with that higher self. That's why a prayer cannot be asking. A prayer cannot be a transaction. Lot of times, all our prayers are asking. But here in this prayer, I want to give myself. I want to give. Observe this very carefully. I probably said this before. You watch the people walking into the church. You watch the people walking into the mosque. You watch the people walking into the temple, depending on where you go regularly. They suddenly, their movement, their walking style, their body's demeanor changes as they enter into the church or the temple. They're shrunk a little bit. Like they try to close themselves when they're walking in there. You observe yourself, forget about others. We try to shrink our body. And we think in the presence of the Lord, that is the attitude we should have. But it happens automatically pretty much. See, when at the stop, at the signals, a lot of homeless people, especially in Orlando, give them some money, watch, observe their body. They're shrinking. They're trying to pull their body together. Why? Because whenever you have an idea of receiving, even though in your mind is desiring to receive, but your heart is closing. Whenever there is an idea of receiving, your heart is closing. And imagine how you feel when you're handing off that $1 bill to the beggar. You feel expansion. So in giving, heart is always expanding. In receiving, heart is closing. That is why I tell everybody, even when you are meditating, don't think that you are receiving this transmission. The moment you think you receive something, your heart closes. Observe it. I'm not saying. This is my personal observation though. Whenever you think you are receiving, you are closing. It doesn't matter. If you want to receive your husband, love from your husband or, depending on your gender, or from your wife, you're already closing to them. Without your knowledge, it's happening. So here in this kind of a prayer, when I want to become that, when I want to give myself, see how much your heart expands when you want to give totally yourself. It expands to infinity, and it receives infinity, even though there is no idea of receiving. So that is why spirituality is all about giving, not receiving. Progress is also all about submitting yourself totally. It's not about getting something, achieving something. And someone asked me, oh, people have been practicing heartfulness for ages. I don't see any progress in them. Why do you think it is so? I said it is because whenever there is a sense of achievement, sense of progress, we are closing. Even though we are so much work we are doing, but that sense of achievement is stalling us. You see how subtle the spiritual ways are. It is exactly opposite of what you think. So spirituality must be ennobling. It is only becomes ennobling when you want to give yourself. Even if you give $1 billion, it is not giving until you give yourself. That $1 billion carries no value at all. So think of it like that. Every time you sit in meditation, you are giving yourself. Every time you are sitting in prayer, you're totally giving yourself. So thou art the real goal of human life is to give myself completely. But what is holding me? My wishes. We'll talk about wishes later. So before going to bed, take a moment to reflect on your day. Consider what you did well and where you can improve. Make a quiet determination to do better and turn inward for the guidance from the source as you repeat the words of the prayer below. So I'll stop here and then we'll discuss in our next session. Okay. I don't know why it is not highlighting. All right.